This is what I call, in any context, Marvel, Star Wars, any novel I read, wrestling, this is bad storytelling. You hyped up your audience and then you killed the hero in the middle of the villain's thing. This would be like Austin Powers being dumped in the shark tank with the lasers and the sharks cut him to pieces.
Hey, wrestling fans, welcome to the One Winged Wrestling Podcast, where two wrestling elitists discuss or review AEW events and wrestling news from around the world. At One Winged Wrestling, our motto is, we go where the elite go. I'm your host, Krishna, and joining me today is Mr. Bill Cutbush. Bill, how's it going?
It's going a little bit confused, but we'll get to that a little later. But it is going.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we had a super hot day here yesterday in Toronto, which we're recording just slightly the day after the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Nice cool day here in Toronto now, but yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I mean, what we usually do on One Winged Wrestling is we provide our thoughts and expectations for the coming event, what we hope for, and then we go watch it, come back and talk to you about it on the same podcast. But for those of you who don't know, we did our Forbidden Door preview show a couple of days ago. You should probably check that out before this one if you want. You can hear all of our completely wrong predictions, which we will get to. And then we come back and review the show, which is what we're going to do now with Forbidden Door. But the most important thing is, did anything on Forbidden Door tonight, did it reach that all-important Omega level?
And knowing that Kenny Omega himself stated he was not going to be at Forbidden Door, can anything without Kenny Omega ever reach that Omega status?
We shall find out, won't we?
We shall. And so with that, Bill, let's jump into it because we have a lot to talk about.
Do we ever? Okay. So the pre-show buy-in, the AEW buy-in, had 4 matches on it. So the first of those matches, and a few of these we didn't know about, so they weren't part of our official predictions for the Forbidden Door show, but I can give you our final tallies at the end of the night if you like, and I can tell you who won the match prediction sweepstakes.
Sweet.
So we have the first opening match was QT Marshall and Aaron Solo, the Factory, versus Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. Again,
one of the matches we didn't know that was happening. It's funny, I briefly checked Twitter yesterday night, so Sunday night before the show started, and I saw QT Marshall and Aaron Solo's pictures like on a card that said what was it? It was the buy-in. And I was like, no, someone's just messing around. They're not on the buy-in, but they were. The good news is that we knew what was going to happen here. Like, you have some New Japan stars coming in. You have the Factory. The Factory are basically the cannon fodder of AEW, and they do their job well. They went out there, they performed. You and I both discussed, like, we thought QT Marshall actually looked pretty good in this match. Like, shockingly, looked pretty good. Of course, they lost. So New Japan won. It was 1-0 New Japan at this point, and I was like, yeah, it wasn't a terrible match. It's okay. It's pretty good.
Yep. What'd you think? No, I mean, yeah, the same thing. There were some nice combos in it. It was a good straight up, warm the crowd up a bit tag team match. It did what it was supposed to do. QT Marshall and Aaron Solo's pretty good.
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him someday. He's a really young guy. I hope to see him up and coming in AEW. Get to see more of him. Yeah, and Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto, they were good in the ring as well. It was a fun little match. New Japan up 1-0. Next up, we had Lance Archer versus Nick Comoroto.
This match is funny because they both are AEW guys. Obviously, Nick Comoroto from the Factory, again, cannon fodder, taking on Lance Archer, who's representing Suzuki Gun, right? From New Japan. Match went as well as we thought. We saw Nick Comoroto actually, again, the Factory, looking a lot more athletic than we remember them looking ever on Dark or anything like that. And it was like the bit you pointed out, these are the type of big man matches that you would prefer, like some athleticism thrown in here. At one point, there was that one spot where Archer got pressed by like literally overhead pressed by Nick Comoroto. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like it was pretty impressive. Even at the ending, with Lance Archer winning, like holding Nick Comoroto in that like, I forget the name of the move he does, but it's like the Razor's Edge, but the reverse Razor's Edge kind of thing, where he kind of has a guy going forward. Pretty impressive win. And yeah, the match was quick. It didn't like outstay its welcome. I had no problem with it, but again, 2-0 New Japan at this point.
Yes, no, you're right. Good match. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Again, another good warm up match. A couple of big guys with some athleticism going at it. I like Lance Archer big guy matches if he's paired with the right guy. And Nick Comoroto's one of those guys that works when he's paired with Lance Archer.
Agreed.
So yeah, solid match. The right guy won. I mean, I don't think Lance Archer's going to lose to the factory. No. So yeah, 2-0 New Japan now. And then we moved on to a Clark Connors promo in which we learned he's the Wild Rhino.
Wild Rhino. Another cowboy gimmick, Cowboy Clark Connors. As we both said, they're giving him the spotlight. Obviously, he's filling in for the injured Ishii. But very, very green on the mic. Not sure how many promos he actually does, like, in New Japan. Or if they notice if he's that good or not. But yeah, it came off as one of those, I'm going to try my best and I'm going to win. I'm going to win for all the little guys kind of thing. So yeah, it's kind of we watched it and we're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Connors is going to get pinned in this match. But yeah, that was the promo.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was exactly it. And like I said, we learned he is the Wild Rhino.
Wild Rhino.
So yeah, next up then we had Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, Swerve in Our Glory, taking on Suzuki Goons, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Yeah, this match I actually really enjoy. The Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland tag team they just get better and better every time I see them. I think the final sequence by Lee and Strickland, where Strickland literally did that double foot stomp from the hanging El Desperado outside the ring. I was like, no way he's doing this. I think the crowd, they actually went crazy when he did that. And Lee, fighting back after the New Japan guys attacked his legs and they tried to bring him down, but getting the win. And it seems like Swerve and Lee are on the same page again. So yeah, I like this match. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed there was a little bit of comedy thrown in with Kanemaru and his bottle of
whiskey?
Yeah, some kind of whiskey that was in it, and him like spitting it in the eyes of Keith Lee at one point, and we were both commenting, how on earth does the ref not smell that? But
maybe he smelled it on him when he walked in, so he thought it was him.
Oh, maybe that's quite possible. But anyway, yeah, no, there was some really good moments. There was a lot of good combos by both teams. Yeah. I was impressed with both teams. It was a fun little match again. This was sort of the final. No, it was the second last match on the pre-show. Second last match on the pre-show. And yep, you predicted it correctly. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee go over and what you also correctly point out was a really fun finishing sequence. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you only watch 10 seconds of this match, just watch that finishing sequence. It was fantastic. Yeah. So then we get Team Taz interrupting the celebration after the match,
which I said right away was kind of weird because they're calling out Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and I would be like Swerve and Lee just keep walking away. Like, what do you guys want? They're like, if you want to beat the best, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. I'm sorry. When was Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks determined to be the best tag team? I'm pretty sure that's the Bucks, right? Because they are the tag team champions in AEW.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm pretty sure the number one contenders are not Starks and Hobbs.
Very weird segments, which even like I was like, I don't understand it. It's great to see Hobbs, and it's great to see Starks because he's awesome, but it just didn't make any sense, right? It didn't set anything up, didn't make any sense. I'm kind of like, okay, thanks for wasting 5 minutes of my time because we didn't really need this.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, they could have played another DraftKings commercial, right?
Yeah, it's true. Did you know it was sponsored by DraftKings?
Oh, I had no idea. You mean DraftKings was their official sponsor? Get out. Yeah. So then we had the LA Dojo, which was the DKC.
Yep.
Yuya Uemura,
Hmm.
Alex Coughlin, and
Hmm.
Kevin Knightley
Hmm.
facing the Gun Club, which was also Billy Gunn tonight. Billy
Yep.
Gunn, Austin, and
Colton.
Colton, and then Max Caster.
However, when they jumped into the ring, Danhausen was suddenly on TV. He said he did something for the Ass Boys. He got them a theme song, and which upset them so much that Colton and Austin left the ring and ran to the back of the arena.
Never to be
He never
seen
never to
again.
return again. Maybe the Danhausen curse works. Who knows? Yeah, so it was basically a 2-on-4 match. Like the LA Dojo, like these kids were good. Like these guys were actually really good. You can again, they're the young lions. They're still training, but they got time to shine. They were pulling off combos. They're really quick. And the level of execution was like a spot on. Like they were really good. Obviously, at the ending, you know, Max Caster and Billy Gunn were able to overcome the odds. Billy Gunn obviously looked twice the size of anyone else in the ring there. Like he's absolutely gigantic. He took them out. He gave the famous sir. He then passed the win over to Max Caster, who did the mic drop from the top rope and got the 1-2-3 on a pay-per-view, which is, you know what, if the Acclaimed are getting wins on pay-per-views, then we're all in for it. So good job, a good match, and good job to Max Caster.
Absolutely, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was
Yeah,
it was fun. It was a fun little match. Like watching the young lions, the LA Dojo. Man, they're good.
they're good. They're really
Right. I
good.
mean, their fundamentals are just so sound. They had so many interesting fun. Like the energy level was great. It's like they knew they had a few minutes out there to put on a show on and pay-per-view in North America and Japan, and they gave it their all. I like the way they got the win. I was a little bit, I think the only thing that threw me off though was like saying, you know, in spite of the fact these guys are all so good, etc., it just takes two of us to beat the four of you. And I didn't love that. I
Yeah,
also didn't love the fact that Austin and Colton ran off and never came back. It's like Danhausen is just so distracting to them. What did Danhausen, like they get in the bag, Danhausen had a submachine gun and that was just the end of the Ass Boys? Like I don't
he
understand why they
gassed
never
them,
came
and
together. Yeah,
who
exactly.
knows?
Exactly. Anyway, the right guys won again.
Agreed.
So we ended up with a final score in the pre-show of 2-2. So that meant we moved to the main show, and it opens with Judas hitting, and we're getting the Jericho Appreciation Society's Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, along with Minoru Suzuki, taking on Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino.
Yeah. And we chose Eddie Kingston and the New Japan to win over the Jericho Appreciation Society, but we didn't at the time know that the added stipulation is going to be there that whomever won gets to add an additional person to the Blood and Guts match this Wednesday.
Yes.
So when we heard that, we obviously knew the Jericho Appreciation Society was going to win this match.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the match itself, I'm not going to. So I wasn't blown away. Like the thing is, here's the thing: Sammy Guevara is such an awesome wrestler, right? That kid, and I'm forgetting his name, Shoto.
Shota Umino.
Yeah. They told the backstory about him and Chris Jericho beating up his father and then putting him into the walls of Jericho just when he was a younger kid. And now it's coming back. He's facing Jericho the first time. He was really good. Like I was really impressed with his showing, and props to Jericho for letting this stuff happen. Let's again, when you go back, you understand what's happening. Jericho always puts these people over, always, right? I think the Suzuki versus Eddie Kingston kind of like face off with the fact that, you know, yeah, Eddie's tough, but he's no Minoru Suzuki, right? And I think we said that. So that one shot where Suzuki just like kind of gave him the elbow right to the head and he just felt like he knocked out. I thought it was great. We knew who was going to win because obviously because of the stipulation. And yeah, I just thought it was good. I thought it was a good match. How about you?
Yeah, no, you know what? I enjoyed the storytelling aspects of this match a lot. All right. And most of it didn't, well, I mean, it involved Jericho in the sense of, you know, you got Shota Umino and getting his revenge, and he had so many good moves, like you point out, against Jericho. And he had a lot of good spots against all of them. He was really the standout breakout guy in this match, right?
Agreed.
He just did so well, and he's such a good wrestler. You know, he's got the high flying stuff. He's got really good fundamentals. He was good at some holds. I was so impressed with Shota Umino. I loved that exchange between Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki.
Right?
That was so well done, right? I mean, the right guy came out on top, but
Yeah.
man, did they ever work that well, right? I loved the whole story of Umino trying to get his retribution and like almost gets it on Jericho, and Jericho just out of nowhere with that Judas effect, and
Yeah.
ends up pinning him to win the match. But I really enjoyed the match. I enjoyed it a lot.
Agreed.
It's not going to be match of the night or anything, but it did its job of opening up the pay-per-view, got the crowd going big time with Judas, and then Minoru Suzuki in that match with the face-off with Eddie, and the crowd was just going insane for that. So it did its job. It warmed up the crowd, got everyone into it, and got to showcase some young talent on top of it. And then we moved on to the second match of the night, which was the Ring of Honor and IWGP Tag Championship match. It was Roppongi Vice, Trent Beretta, and Rocky Romero versus United Empire, the Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb, versus FTR, the confusing Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, who I, to this day, even though I know who they both are, still apparently cannot tell them apart.
I think we said Cash is the one with hair.
Yes.
He has hair in his head. Yes. And Dax is the bald one. So now we know. Now we know. Cash, when you think about Cash, we're going to say money, hair.
And even after we figured that out, the very next time we talked about them, I got the names backwards again. And then at one point, I think I said Cash Harwood and Dax Wheeler. So,
yes.
So I was doing very well watching the paper.
I was like point out, I suggested they put their names on their tights, make it a lot easier for the rest. Because guess what? The announcers messed it up at one point as well.
Yes.
So it wasn't only us. So this match was great. There was a storyline behind it as well. The injury to Dax. It's funny because if you think about it, do you remember when FDR beat, wasn't the Bucks? Who did they beat? They beat another tag team, but it was that time. It was a time that Cash got injured with his arm when he got caught. And Dax had to do the rest of the match by himself. It was almost like a reverse that happened here, which was kind of cool. I was really impressed with Jeff Cobb. Really, really impressed with Jeff Cobb. I thought like you had pointed out, hey, did you see the Jeff Cobb match on Friday night? And I was like, no, you're like, Jeff Cobb beats Dax or Cash. He beat someone.
It was Cash.
It was Cash.
It was the one with the hair.
Yeah, there you go. He beat Cash on Rampage clean. So when I saw some of the moves that this guy was pulling off, I was like, wow, Jeff Cobb is actually a really, really good wrestler, right? Part of United Empire. So I didn't know who was going to win. Some of the falls, I was like, oh my God, is it going to be United Empire or is it going to be FTR? I know I think we had chosen Roppongi Vice. But at a certain point, I was like, even though I love Roppongi Vice and honestly, Trent and
Rocky Romero.
Trent and Rocky. Yeah. Like I said last week, Rocky, so very underrated. Such a great wrestler, right? Everyone performed so well in this match. I again, crazy, almost pinfall attempts. And times I was like, oh no, like what's going to happen next? But at the end of it, FTR walks away as the champ, as the IWGP tag team champs and Ring of Honor champions. Right?
Yes.
So I am happy and very interested where this goes next.
Well, it means that people in New Japan get to watch FTR more, which that will be kind of cool. There's a lot of potentially good matchups over there. They are the hardest working tag team in professional wrestling these days. So for me, this match had two parts, I think. Okay. It opened up, it seemed really hot. We had these three teams going at it. And then we got and I'm glad you brought up that callback to the other match because I had forgotten about that. And that at least nullifies this a bit. But when his shoulder went out, I'm like, unless he's really badly injured, this is WWE face tag team trope number one. Oh, partner gets injured, has to go off for half the match, then comes back fresh from his injury and they win. I'm like, the minute he went off, I'm like, oh, come on. Now we know FTR is winning the match because this is WWE booking trope number one. And then what I found interesting too is when the injury happened, the crowd went quiet. And Roppongi Vice versus United Empire, it was good, but it felt a little slow to me too, right? There was just something, the moves were good. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just crowd went quiet and I found it kind of slow until Dax, was it Dax that got injured? Yeah, it was Dax that got injured and came back. Yes. And, then they started to really, that's when the match picked up again. They started that fun sequence of near falls, right? Like every team got to do its finishing move and got it broken up. And then there was that near fall where the ref counted 1, 2, 3, kick out 4.
Yeah, no,
And
he
it's,
literally, you know,
yeah,
basically what he did was I was gonna ask you if this was a match because
it was the match.
he slaps the mat, and
Mhm.
then on the second slap he has
Well,
1,
that's what I mean.
2, and
Yeah.
the entire audience are like,
But
what?
that was 3.
Even we were like, what just
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
What just happened? That was 3.
exactly.
And then the audience had the same reaction as us. They were yelling, "You effed up" to the
Yep.
referee because yeah, this wasn't one of the first mess ups tonight. Yeah, it was very very strange. You know, that little mess up actually did hurt the match a bit, but overall, I thought it was a good match.
Oh yeah, no, the big rig for the
Yeah,
finisher, and FTR's got, and it makes sense. FTR with the belts makes a lot of sense. And you and I were both wrong, and
we are both wrong.
as happens an awful lot in these things, and we move along. So the poor ref, he got the gears given to him by the crowd. FTR wins the titles, and we're wrong. So the universe is correct. We move along.
Where he's human, guys. It happens. Like,
Exactly.
it is what it is.
Show me one person who's never made a mistake in their job in their entire life, right? Anyway, so next up we had the All Atlantic Championship match, Fatal 4-Way with Pac, Miro, Malachi Black, and the Wild Rhino, Cowboy Clark Connors.
They gave Clark Connors a lot here. They did. They let him shine a lot. He got to do a lot of moves. The part where he took out Miro into that table was, great. Did that whole run and he just mashed right into Miro on the table. Overall, obviously, like, you look at people like Pac and Malachi Black. We talked about it. Like, you made the comments. You said, this would have been a great triple threat match, right? And I said, there's something with Miro's wrestling recently that, and it could be because of the injury. It just seemed to live a little bit slower than everyone else, because Pac is Pac. Okay. Malachi Black, again, as I said, he's doing such amazing things that it shocks me every time. And then this kid, this Clark Connors guy, like, he absolutely was great in this match, right? So it was really fast, and you're right. When Miro jumped in, sometimes it just kind of slowed, right? So overall, I thought this was a fun match. Again, I was wrong. Pac hits the Black Arrow, right? That was cool. Because Malachi had Connors locked up, and he does a 450 on the Black Arrow on Malachi.
Yeah.
And then takes out Connors and gets the win. And I'm like, you know what? Bill was right. And I think you're right. The best person for this wins, because Pac is so great. And now with a belt, come on. Yes. A belt Pac is going to be even better.
Oh, exactly. And that's why I'm kind of glad he won it as well. Mm-hmm. Clark Connors, I mean, I'll say the same thing you just did. Wow. This kid's good. That sequence he had in the ring there towards the end too, it was phenomenal, right? I mean, he's got so much potential. He's the kind of guy, I want to see this guy again. He needs work on his promos, but who else needs work on his promos? Dante Martin, right?
Very true. And look at Dante.
And look how good he is. I mean, this guy's not as good as Dante Martin, but he was still good. Do you know who isn't good in this match was Miro? I was actually bored watching him wrestle, and it really took away from this match for me. Like, that's why I turned to you and said, this should have been a triple threat, because without Miro in the match, and the crowd loved Miro, but without Miro in this match, I think we would have had a much better match. I don't know what it is with wrestling crowds liking big guys that thump things a lot, but he was boring. His promos are spectacular. He's the exact opposite of Clark Connors. Spectacular promos, spectacular, amazing. So much charisma. But he gets in the ring, and you're right. I don't know what's wrong with his wrestling these days. It might be the injury. I don't know. It's just slow. It's WWE pedantic.
Yep.
And I got no time for that. There's so many good people in AEW. I don't want to watch boring, pedantic WWE big guy wrestling. Boring. So other than Miro, this was a great match. But Miro knocks it down a notch. So what can you do?
And also, like, a thumbs down to, like, what the hell ever AEW is doing with Kip Sabian and stuff like that. Like, we had predicted Kip Sabian might maybe the one to interfere, push like a storyline forward, but again, just sitting in the audience with that box on his head.
Oh, by the way, I forgot earlier to mention my sign of the night, which kept popping up at this point, which said, I am a groin kicker guy. Sign of the night.
I like the sign that said "Get well soon." It had the 100 wrestlers listed below it.
That sign just made me sad. Or the "If CM Punk wins, we dot
We,
dot dot. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah. Anyway, next up we had the Bullet Club, which was the Young Bucks and El Phantasmo.
okay.
Yes, versus the dudes with attitude. Darby Allin, Sting, and Shingo Takagi.
Actually, no, this match was, I'm not gonna lie, this match was good. One of the best things about this match is that we got to see El Phantasmo. We've never seen him before. I've never seen him before. He was absolutely amazing. Like, he fits perfectly into any stable the Young Bucks are in. And he basically, like, the whole part, the whole sequence where he was like, he had the guy, they had the guy in the corner, the Bucks, and he did the flip, and he did like a back flip, and then he flipped again just to get up to him and scratch him in his back.
The
Right? I was
Dermis
like,
Destroyer.
the Dermis Destroyer. He was so ridiculous. I couldn't stop laughing throughout this match. It was, I love this match. I thought it was so much fun. Again, the Bucks, again, I never bet against the Elite, but the Bucks are fantastic. El Phantasmo is amazing. I hope I see more of him now in WWE. WWE, whoa, whoa, AEW.
I'll edit that out. Don't worry.
AEW. And yeah, Sting and Darby, yeah, they were good. Like, I mean, Sting no sells everything. Like, they had that big moment that I know you hated, Bill, where he no sold the double super kicks and then gave the Scorpion Death Drop to both the Bucks. That was whatever. And yeah, at the end, you have El Phantasmo getting pinned for and obviously the Bucks losing the match. But hey, I mean, the belts went on the line. It is what it is. It was a really fun match. We got to see someone new we've never seen before, and we really like. So that was a positive out of this match.
I'm just going to take a minute and talk about this style of match, right? I mean, it was a bit of a spot match, but it was a comedy match in a lot of ways, right? It was really lighthearted. It was designed to showcase Sting. It was designed to let the Bucks and El Phantasmo have a lot of like really laugh out loud, funny moments in the ring. And it's the kind of match that you need as sort of a breather between all the serious stuff that's going on. You know, you just had the All-Atlantic Championship match, right? You had like the ROH IWGP one before it. We've got a bunch of matches afterwards that are all quite, well, fairly one. You know, we'll get to one that's not quite as serious later, but just it had its place. It was a breath of fresh air on the card. The Bucks got to be the completely ridiculous, we're not defending our title, Bucks selves, right? And with El Phantasmo, it was just perfect. Hilarious. The three of them together are amazing, right? And the three, and Shingo Takagi, moment for him. I mean, that guy's really good in the ring, right? And it was interesting seeing these three guys who are fairly serious and take themselves quite seriously against the absolutely ridiculous Bullet Club. So yeah, it was wonderful. I laughed out loud multiple times during this match. The Dermis Destroyer is now one of my all-time favorite wrestling moves. It is the best. Yeah, and El Phantasmo, you know, this guy, and that appearance later when he was in the crowd and the lights shining in his eyes and he's covering his face. It was so funny. Anyway, this guy is great, and I want to see more El Phantasmo. That's what this match taught me.
No, but that little sequence you just talked about is absolutely correct. Because think about it, whenever someone they want to highlight someone in the audience or crowd, they'll always highlight them with the biggest spotlights in the world, and they're always like looking at the match. It's all serious. He's there, the lights are on him. He's
I know he can't see anything. He's like growling.
I love that. No, that was great.
Yep. Then we go backstage to where Tony Schiavone is interviewing Shota Umino.
Well, that's right. Tony Schiavone is interviewing Shota Umino. The Jericho Appreciation Society approach Umino, and Jericho actually says, you know, you've gained our respect for what you've done here. You've done a great job. Only to for Jericho to throw a fireball at Umino's face. And then Jericho's expression just right after, because of course he's a wizard. Again, it's absolutely hilarious. Jericho just keeps doing what he does best. So yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was funny. It was Jericho being Jericho, and again, it was sort of like a little bit of a revenge on Shota Umino. But again, the first thing he said to him though was respect for your performance. Yes. Right. And so there was that level too, where you could tell this whole thing was designed to really put Shota Umino to another level, right? And I think it did that. So, and then he gets fireballed by Chris Jericho. So, you know, you
Of
can't have
course,
Chris
you
Jericho
knew
leave
you knew
without,
that was coming.
yeah, well, he is a wizard.
Yeah.
So yes. And then our pizza showed up, fortunately, because it was time for the Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm match.
Like this is the match that really showcased that. Like I really see Tony Storm doing like 3 or 4 moves. She loves that spinning tornado DDT that she does like every 5 seconds. She loves that little butt stomp she does when she runs across the ring. And she does some very awkward body slams and such. I didn't hate this match. I didn't love this match. I just thought it was an okay match. I don't know what storylines this was pushing. I don't know what story it was even telling, to be completely honest with you. It was just a match to have a match for the women there, which they could have done a way better job, right? So to me, this was just a filler match for the night.
It was filler. The buildup was bad. I mean, we've commented on that in previous episodes. The buildup was bad. There was nothing to it. Like,
Yeah.
why? Okay, so Tony Storm is challenging Thunder Rosa. There's no story.
Why?
Yeah, like who cares?
Exactly.
Okay, she's going for the belt, but so what? Like, there's no feud. There's no tension. It's a good guy versus a good guy. It's like, I don't care. I didn't care going into the match, and then when you add to it Tony Storm, it's like, you're right. She has 4 moves.
Yeah.
I see her do the same. She does those 4 moves pretty well. I mean, someday she's going to kill someone with that hip thing in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's because it looks vicious. I mean, props to her. If that thing is completely done up, man, is she good at
Yeah.
that. She knows how to do that springboard DDT
DDT.
because she does it over and
No.
over and
No.
over and over. You know, Thunder Rosa was really good in this match. I'm going to give her props. Her moves, good. She did a lot of really interesting stuff, but there was no story. And so even if you're the best wrestler in the world, unless you're Kenny Omega, because he can't tell a match without a story,
Yeah,
though.
that's true. That's
So,
very
I
true.
mean, that's the thing, is that this was just, okay, Tony Storm wrestled adequately.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa wrestled a bit better than adequate. She was solid, good stuff.
Yep.
No story. Thunder Rosa wins. I don't care.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, thank God it was over, because once it was over, we got to move on to first Orange Cassidy's music and then Will Ospreay's.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And we got what I had predicted would be the match of the night. And yeah, for me, it did actually turn out to be the match of the night. Like these guys, Will Ospreay, you know he can go. Like I praise the fact that we've seen Will Ospreay now maybe I want to say 4 to 5 times wrestle for AEW, which is absolutely amazing. And I hate the fact that it's not probably going to happen for a while, but like you see Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, like it's just that Will Ospreay takes everything so seriously. Orange has he's Orange Cassidy. He doesn't prepare for anything. He's so easygoing. It's whatever, wherever, whenever. But seeing him do the moves he was doing with his hands in his pockets and everything like that, seeing the reversals that was happening with like just this like on Ospreay, and that the move where they like Orange was against the barricades, and you, for some reason like I'm like, why is Will Ospreay running from so far away? And he starts running and running, and his United Empire guys, they grab him and throw him into Orange Cassidy. I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. The reverses where the moves where you didn't even know who was reversing what at some points, where it was just like these guys were spinning around of each other, right? I was like, I don't even know. Like I like this match was so much fun. The move set was like, it was absolutely amazing. Orange Cassidy lost. I didn't think Will Ospreay was going to lose this match. Orange Cassidy lost, but at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt either of them because this match was absolutely, it stole the show for me. This match absolutely stole the show for me.
You know, I thought it was a really good match. I loved the storytelling in it. You know, the comedy at the beginning, right? It was so good. But what I liked about it was the comedy was put still in with some phenomenal wrestling. The whole hands in the pocket sequence that he started off with, the back and forth with Will Ospreay, the way he interjects comedy during the match, it's never too much. Like when he was doing the Kawada kicks and he did like the just the light Kawada kicks after Ospreay had done it to him, then he gets him down and he starts doing the, you know, Orange Cassidy style Kawada kicks, and so Ospreay gets up, gets all mad, does something, and then he does them. Orange Cassidy does them for real to Will Ospreay. It was so good. The pace was excellent. Some of those moves, like you said, you pointed it out, those reversals, the way they went into it, the near miss finishers, you could tell Will Ospreay kept setting them up for the stuff. They both got to hit their signatures on each other, and then finally Will gets him with the Stormbreaker, and man, that move looks good.
Yeah, let's go.
So yeah, the right guy won the match. But wow, what a match. I had a lot of fun watching it. I was watching, this, like I said, story was solid. And I was like, this is a really good match. This has the potential to be match of the night. But let's see what's going to come next. Because it wasn't the one I picked to be match of the night, right? I was like, let's see what comes next. I'm going to tell you something. Although many other matches coming up in the night, and we'll get to this, we're getting towards the ability to be match of the night. None of them got there. And I hate it when this happens. But this became my match of the night by default.
By default, yep.
And I don't like that feeling. Really good match. It's deserving of it, but other matches had the potential. And we will get to that. So this is my match of the night by default. The only thing I want to point out here, though, too, is don't tell me, Kenny Omega, that Will Ospreay can't tell a story. Because the way he wrestled against Orange Cassidy was perfect. The facial expressions, the way he played off of the comedy bits, the way he brought his own seriousness into it, the way he did his own comedy, the thumbs up as he delivered the Stormbreaker, just the little things he threw into this match. Yeah, he's turning into quite the little storyteller. If you watch that match against Nick Wayne, you watch this match. In both those matches, he is playing a role. He knows the role he's playing, and he does it perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway. And then there was a big post-match beatdown.
Yeah, where United Empire beat down Orange Cassidy. Roppongi Vice came in for the save, but did absolutely nothing. They just got beaten up and thrown outside the ring. And I don't remember the guy's name, but he got a huge pop from New Japan. Shibata, yeah. And he came out. He beat up Ospreay and United Empire. Orange Cassidy thanked him by putting his shades on his face. And then he was about to leave, but Shibata called him back inside the ring. And then AEW did what AEW does the best. They cut away for no apparent reason to show just a graphic of the next match, then realized what was happening. So they cut back to what was happening in the ring.
No, I like the little post-match thing with Shibata. Shibata, by the way, is also the trainer at the LA Dojo. So that explains a lot about why these kids are able to.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. So you could tell this was setting up a feud in New Japan between Shibata and Will Ospreay in all likelihood. So we shall see what happens. Then we had, as the graphic that interrupted the final segment told us, we had Zack Sabre Jr. versus the Blackpool Combat Club's mystery opponent, the worst kept secret in professional wrestling. And out comes, to his theme music, Claudio Castiglione.
This match, okay. So I thought I was going to come out here of this match just, so happy to see Claudio, so glad that he was in AEW and stuff like that. I came out of this match thinking, man, this Zack Sabre Jr. guy, he's so good. What the hell? Like this is just unfair how good this guy is. Like everything Claudio was throwing, like again, Claudio threw the offense first. Like I don't think Zack Sabre Jr. was ready for it. But then the reversals, like that one time where Claudio went to kick him and he grabbed his legs and hung upside down. I was like, are you kidding me right now? And when he wouldn't let go of Claudio's arm, basically Claudio tries to throw it, like he gets him in the I think they call it triangle hold, where they catch your arm. Claudio picks him up, throws him outside the ring, but he hangs on and pulls Claudio out of the ring. But then Claudio, as we know, is pound for pound the strongest wrestler in the world, decides he's going to pick up Zack Sabre Jr. with one arm, carry him to the actual steps, the steel stairs, walk up the stairs, and then throw him into the ring. I was like, this just shows you how strong this guy actually is, right? At the end, Zack Sabre Jr. lost, but the showing I got, I was so incredibly impressed that I'm very curious what a Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. match would actually look like now. So thoroughly impressed with Zack Sabre Jr. Like I'm shocked. I'm glad Claudio is here with AEW, but man, I kind of want Zack Sabre Jr. to be at AEW as well.
I told you Zack Sabre Jr. was good. I told you.
They did.
Because man, is he good. Yeah, Castagnoli, and I'm going to use his last name continuously so I can say it properly. Castagnoli. Yeah, I mean, my God, he's strong. I liked the way they opened the match with him doing his finishing moves from WWE. And Zack Sabre Jr. immediately kicks out. So it's just like, okay, we got that out of our system. Can we move along now and have a good wrestling match? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I love watching Zack Sabre Jr. take someone apart. You know, the moves he can do to a guy's leg, the moves he can do. It's like Bret Hart on like steroids, right? The way he just goes after a body part and takes it apart.
Mhm.
I think the only thing I didn't like a lot was the way that Castagnoli kind of no-sold some of it. I mean, yeah, I get it. He's strong. And he
Yeah,
would occasionally hold the arm, but he kept doing all these big power moves, you know? And I
yeah.
mean, Zack Sabre Jr. really went after his knee for a while, and it's like it meant nothing. You know, he just kept using the knee, using the knee. There was almost no indication that the move Zack Sabre Jr. was doing to him had any lasting or real effect.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, he's been working that arm over, but he was still able to carry him up the stairs and throw him in the ring. I mean, yeah, spectacle. I get it, right? Great introduction for him. I'm just picky. Like, I like it when someone's working over a body part and that body part's actually injured, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, then learn to adapt. Like a CM Punk, you know, you do that to CM Punk and he's going to be flipping the moves around to the other arm. He's going to, you know,
Yeah.
he's just such a master, an absolute master at that aspect of wrestling. This was a little different. I really enjoyed it. I love Zack Sabre Jr. Castagnoli is great. I look forward to seeing more of him in AEW. I look forward to seeing what he can do during the Blood and Guts match. That's going to be fun watching a guy that strong in that kind of match. His uppercuts are just insanely good looking. So yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. The no selling a bit took me out of it slightly, but other than that, yeah. And I would have liked to have seen more Zack Sabre Jr. just dismantling him. It felt like he never really got a lot of offense going, but you're right. A lot of those transitions he does are wonderful. You don't know where the heck they're coming from. It's like all of a sudden he's got a hold on the guy.
Yeah.
Great. I love Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you were right. Tony Khan revealed that the original plan for Claudio was for him to come out for a save. So there was supposed to be a beat down, maybe the beat a beat down on Bryan Danielson from the obviously like the Jericho Appreciation Society and so forth, which kind of happens. We'll probably talk about that later on. And Claudio was supposed to come in for the save. That's how they were going to debut him. But obviously things changed. Danielson injured, but hey, we got a real pretty good match here. So,
Yes.
yeah, things worked out.
Yep. No, I was happy with it. I think there was just some part of me that was just hoping for a little more. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like I think
yeah.
maybe I hyped myself up too much for this one and it just wasn't quite where I'd hoped it would have been.
Well, I know I've watched Cesaro wrestle for WWE for a long time, and yes, there's certain things that they let you do in WWE versus what they let you do here at AEW. So I wasn't surprised at what I saw from Claudio, but I was surprised what I saw from Zack Sabre Jr. So I came away with, wow, this is great, but I can see where you were expecting a bit more.
Yeah, because I've seen Zack Sabre Jr. matches too, so
Yeah,
I know what he can do to a guy. And
yeah.
anyway, that led us to the IWGP Championship match. We had Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page, Kazuchika Okada, and
Mhm.
Switchblade Jay White, the defending champion.
Yeah, this match started off great. These guys, obviously the two heels, the Bullet Club, like Switchblade and Cole, jumped out of the ring first. That they left Okada and Page in there, who were the good guys. They shook hands. They were about to fight, but of course they got attacked by both heels. It was back and forth for a lot of it. Again, Hangman. I have to give credit to Hangman. Hangman's so good. Like this guy runs around the ring and he flies and he does all these moves. Like I at one point I said to Bill, I said, is Hangman gonna give the buckshot lariat to every single person in the ring? Because I kind of felt like he was gonna do that. So that was really fun. Watching Okada again. We have to remember, as we said, we're watching Kazuchika Okada in an AEW ring in a 4-way competition for New Japan, which they point out has never happened before. Right, so that was kind of crazy. The match itself was pretty good. until that unfortunate ending, which we had to actually rewind just to kind of absorb. And then after watching it, had to look it up because it got to the point where we thought there was a miss. And I had pointed out, I go, maybe there was an injury. And we looked it up. And just to kind of lay out the sequence, Okada fighting Cole in the ring. Okada sets up Cole for a
The Rainmaker.
no, the Rainmaker.
Yep.
But Cole kind of falls, and I was like, did he miss it? So Cole falls and rolls to one of the corners. Then Switchblade jumps in and hits him with his finisher,
The Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner. And instead of pinning Okada, he kind of rolls over to Cole, jumps on top of Cole. The referee says 1, ref says 2, and then the ref says 3. And we're like, wait, what just happened?
Us and the entire United Center went
silent. Yeah, but they were silent, and I was like, okay, well, the plan probably was always to be, Switchblade pinning Cole, but not in that sequence. And of course, we looked it up. It seems like Adam Cole suffered a concussion during the match. So great audible on the whole, at first off, Bill used to call it Okada not hitting him with that Rainmaker, right?
Mm.
And then potentially Jay White just kind of jumping on him, protecting his friend there, kind of like just count it kind of thing, right? Because the whole plan, I bet you anyway, the whole plan was not for Okada to get pinned in any way, right? So which is fine. It did take away because it's very anticlimactic at the end of the end of the match. I understand it had to be done, obviously. I hope Cole is fine. I really do, because he doesn't remember, he barely made it into this pay-per-view. Like, he was already injured. But yeah, this was supposed to be your match of the night, and even when I was shocked, I was like, what just happened? So yeah, you take it away. Like let me know what you thought about this match.
Well, okay, I'll start off with the match itself before we get to the unfortunate end. This was building up to be what I said was going to be the match of the night, and it was getting there quickly. The story was amazing, right? I mean, you had Adam Cole and Jay White taking on, Hangman Page and Okada, who kind of formed their own little team. And it was almost like a tornado tag for a while, right?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of good moves. Guys were getting to showcase their stuff, right? You got a little bit of interference from Gato, who was helping out. He came to the ring with Switchblade, and he was preventing guys from doing stuff, and it was really good. And Hangman was hitting the buckshot, and people were getting in the way. And then eventually Adam Cole turned on Switchblade, and so it was beginning to degenerate. Like, you could just see the stages of the match building, right? People were starting to hit more moves. Okada was warming up, and then started hitting the drive. Man, those drop kicks, those picture perfect right to the head drop kicks he throws. They're just amazing, right? And getting to watch all of this, they were building up and building up and building up, and you could see it. I was starting to anticipate, oh my God, we're going to go into one of those just insane flurries. Like, this guy will be in the ring with this guy and knocks him, and I could picture it in my mind where the match was going, and I'm like, this is amazing. And then Okada sets up Adam Cole for the Rainmaker. Adam Cole collapses. Okada gets taken out with the Blade Runner. Jay White pins Adam Cole and a jaw drop.
The match is over.
Yes, exactly. The match is over. And what was building up to be an all-time classic four-way turned into a match that had built up and had a very unfortunate ending to it. It's almost like this match was a metaphor for the Forbidden Door pay-per-view.
Forbidden Door. Agreed.
Yeah, it's like this was almost a perfect metaphor for the pay-per-view itself. So, not my match of the night, in spite of the fact I'd predicted it to be my match of the night. I really hope Adam Cole recovers and recovers well. I mean, the Bucks and Kyle O'Reilly ran down to the ring after, and it seemed like the only reason they ran down to the ring was to check on Adam Cole, because it was apparent he was injured. Jim Ross made a point of pointing out he made it out of the ring on his own power. Which, when someone's pointing that kind of stuff out, that it was potentially serious. So glad to see he at least made it that far. Yeah, so that was that match. we then moved on to the main event of the night. It was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus John Moxley for the IW, or not the IWGP, the AEW Interim Heavyweight Championship.
Yep, and they kept stating, whoever wins this match down the road will have a match to unify the AEW Championship with CM Punk. The match itself, we talked about this. I'm not the biggest John Moxley fan when it comes to his wrestling style. I like him as a person. Watching Tanahashi wrestle him, people are saying, he's like the Japanese Bret Hart is what they refer to him as. So watching him do some of his moves, some of the reversals, like stuff like that, it was actually pretty cool. The match itself got weird for me when Moxley decides to blade himself. And it's
we're assuming that's what he did.
Yeah, it seemed to us like an obvious blade job, and man, was he gushing blood! Like, oh my goodness, it was one of those things where you're like, oh, that's interesting. You're bleeding so much. I wasn't bored. I think I was having fun with the crowd. The crowd supporting Tanahashi I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's new in an AEW event. They're supporting Tanahashi. It just shows you how popular he is, right? Which is great. Like AEW fans they're very smart. The finish seemed kind of abrupt to me, right? And I think we both agreed. We're kind of like, oh, that was it. That's how they're finishing the match. Oh, okay, I guess. And now Moxley's the champion. Like it ended, and again, like the previous match, I was kind of like, I feel like something's missing, right? Like something big should have happened. Like this should have been a big finale, exciting. Like everyone should be on their feet, but I feel like everyone's on their feet for the wrong reason. And that's how I felt for this match. And it just didn't sit well with me. And I was like, okay, fine. Match of the night for me still Ospreay versus Cassidy. So I got what I wanted and what I needed. But man, it just where I thought the pay-per-view was going to reach new level, like new highs. I don't know. It just didn't hit that by the end of it.
What was with this? It was it started off, and I've seen a lot of Wrestle Kingdom main events, right? So I expect a slow build into these main events. If you're going to wrestle a long time, and I thought these guys would go for quite a while, I expected it to start off a little slow, but with good storytelling, and that's what I got. There's back and forth. They're with measuring each other out. You had like the little bits where Tanahashi's doing his air guitar and tosses it into the crowd. He starts playing it up. The crowd in the beginning was supporting both sides. But you could tell Tanahashi began to slowly win an AEW crowd over to his side.
Yeah.
And think about the amount of charisma that takes, right? That's the one thing about Tanahashi. He has this inborn charisma that just seems to be able to win crowds over. I don't even know how he does it. He just does, right? And you could see it happening. And, he's good. So the moves he was doing to Moxley were good. I kind of liked Moxley's comebacks to it. To me, it wasn't, you're not talking about like superior technical Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega type wrestling, but you're talking about wrestling that's good, especially if it's done in a story context, right? So I was enjoying this. I'm like, they're building up. And, Mox gets his head kick. I mean, Mox did that head kick into to Tanahashi. He does it back to him. And apparently that, I think, storyline, that's what's supposed to have opened up his head, right?
Yes, according to the story.
Yes, exactly. According to the story. It's the kicks to the head that opened him up when he didn't seem to have any blood when he was thrown out of the ring. And then all of a sudden, camera cuts to him and he's bleeding like a stuck pig or something. And it's just, I mean, he was Dustin Rhodes level blood for the rest of this match. Yes. There was blood all over his face. I mean, it was messy. And I don't really think it was necessary to tell the story. It's almost like it was like, yeah, we should just do some blood. Yeah, okay, let's do some blood. It was dumb, right? I mean, I didn't like that.
Yep.
The crowd got distracted at one point by something going on somewhere else in the auditorium, and that took them out of it briefly, and they were chanting "you effed up" at someone in the actual audience. I have no idea what happened there. So so they got past that, and they're building up, and the moves seem to be intensifying. It's building up. Tanahashi's making, like, Mox gets him in the the sleeper, the rear naked choke, and he's got him down, he's putting him out, and he's got all these submissions on him. Tanahashi's making these big comebacks. The crowd's so behind him. Everything's ramping up to like these big moments that are coming, right? It's almost like we're moving in. Remember I said to you, oh, now we're in stage 2. When he put Tanahashi through the table, I'm like, we're in stage 2.
Yep.
I thought this was stage 3. There's more than 3 stages.
Yep.
Okay, we're into stage 3. We're going to start seeing a lot of stuff going back and forth. And he then hits like a spiked paradigm shift and pins Tanahashi, and it's a 3 count. And I went, what the hell just happened?
Exactly.
And the crowd went dead quiet. There was no big cheer for Moxley. No one was singing along with his song. Nothing. The crowd was like crickets. And this is Chicago.
Yep.
Because at that point, they were all really cheering Tanahashi for his comeback, and his comeback failed.
Yes.
This is what I call, in any context, Marvel, Star Wars, any novel I read, wrestling, this is bad storytelling. You hyped up your audience, and then you killed the hero in the middle of the villain's thing. This would be like Austin Powers being dumped in the shark tank with the lasers, and the sharks cut him to pieces. Yes, exactly. Yep. Okay, this is Austin Powers being killed in the shark tank. I don't understand it. I don't understand this booking at all. I don't understand why. I have seen Tanahashi matches. I have raved to you about his match with Kenny Omega. Yeah. Right. I've seen his match with Okada. Both of those matches, incredible at Wrestle Kingdom. I know what this guy's capable of, and he was working towards it in this match. You could see. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Now we're getting going. No, wait, that's the end of the match.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. I look at the match and you're right. Like, it's like any story. Like, you have a beginning, a middle, and end. And it's like they got to the middle and then they rushed the ending immediately. And you're right. When he hit that move, I said, is that the paradigm shift? And you're like, no, that's something else, because it didn't even look like a paradigm shift. Yeah. And again, the ref counted 1, the ref counted 2, the ref counted 3, and we're like, the match is over? What the heck?
Where there wasn't even like a sequence of near falls that were any good. It was just, so that's the big match we've been building up to forever. This 3 years in the making, Tanahashi versus Mox. And you could tell the crowd was just like, really?
Yeah, the crowd was just out of it until the attack came. And I don't even know if I get it. They're building up the Blood and Guts event on Wednesday. But it's almost like, did they call an audible on that one and just said, hey?
No, because I think you were right? I
that
think
was the original.
This was the original plan the whole time, because what happened after the match at the not the whole Jericho Appreciation Society. We had Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia run down and attack the two of them.
Yeah.
And start beating them down. And then we got people coming out to respond, right? And then we got other people coming out. So we had this big pile in the ring for Blood and Guts, right? Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz and the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society. And then coming out at the end to save the day was Claudio Castagnoli. And I think that when you told me that was supposed to be his original thing, was a save, I think that was the original spot he would have come out in, save the day, and that would have been his debut. So we ended the very first ever New Japan AEW combo pay-per-view, which should be highlighting their relationship, with a setup involving 0 New Japan, because basically Hiroshi Tanahashi lay on the floor for the entire beatdown thing and ignored it. We had a setup for an episode of Dynamite, closing out the very first AEW New Japan pay-per-view.
Yeah, not a setup for a future event. A setup for next week's or this week's weekly television show.
This is what WWE does.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe doesn't even do it to this extent anymore. But when I used to watch WWE, one of the things that turned me out from them was their pay-per-views were used as setups for their weekly television to draw viewers, because their pay-per-views were all on the network and they didn't give a damn about the ratings for them, because those are just subscribers. So all they cared about was the ratings on their weekly programs. They would literally use their pay-per-views, their events, their monthly events, to set up TV angles. That's what we got here. This was used to set up a TV angle. I get it. You want viewers at Blood and Guts, but can we all pause for a moment And just think about this for a second. Are ratings so important that you are willing to take the moment Tanahashi versus Jon Moxley, 3 years in the making? I get it wasn't going to be the original match. That's fine, but it's the match you got.
Yeah.
Tell the story properly and stop caring so damn much about your cable ratings. Don't turn into that wrestling company, please. I want good matches. You know, the end of the IWGP match, the World Championship, that's one thing. That was an injury.
Yeah, I was
I'm
injured.
not sure how that rolled out. I can forgive that one. There was no injury in the Tanahashi Mox match. This was just terrible storytelling, followed up by even worse storytelling. The last thing I want to watch at the end of a pay-per-view is a goddamn brawl. I don't care about brawls. Remember we talked about this at the end of the other one. They had a brawl to hype up this pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
They just ended Dynamite with the same brawl. What the hell? And I said then it was boring. Why are they ending a pay-per-view with the same damn crap? I don't want to see this crap.
Good question.
Like, it honestly, you can tell it makes me angry. I want wrestling. I don't want this crap.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that was your pay-per-view.
That was our pay-per-view. You're right.
You go ahead. I've ranted long enough. What did you think overall of this pay-per-view?
Now, I'm going to be a bit lenient because a lot of factors played into this pay-per-view not being what it could have been, right? Now, first off, this was the first one ever. Like, we have to remember that, right? I'm pretty sure when AEW and WWE, when they had their first pay-per-views, I'm pretty sure it didn't go as smooth as they probably planned it. Secondly, the injuries that happened. My goodness, did the injuries affect this pay-per-view, right? Like, this pay-per-view was cursed from the beginning. So I kind of understand what's happened there. Now, getting past that, this is where my issue starts. It's kind of like, you praise Mox a lot for one thing, his storytelling, right? You said Tanahashi is gold in the ring with his storytelling as well. And then to get what we got with such a terrible finish, it kind of, you kind of think, you're like, wait, it's not like you guys put this together yesterday. You had time. You knew exactly when Punk went down over almost a month ago, right? May 29th was the pay-per-view. The next Dynamite is when he got hurt. So you knew what was happening. So you're telling me that you had a month and this is what you guys approved to end the show with, even though you knew what was happening, you knew who wasn't going to be there. So that's kind of a letdown. We go back to the Adam Cole stuff. That's an accident. That's a freak accident. You can't avoid that, right? But yeah, the ending was just so anticlimactic that it takes away from the overall enjoyment of the pay-per-view. It really does, right? Like, this pay-per-view could have been great, could have been amazing. And at the end of the day, it just ended up being good, right? Good. And I'm sorry, but for AEW pay-per-views, that's just not good enough, right? Because we've seen what their pay-per-views are normally like. And we come away, sometimes there are some matches where, like, yeah, that one wasn't that great, but overall, this pay-per-view rocked. No, not this time. This time I looked at this and I was like, yeah, it was good, but it could have been better. So I'm gonna leave it as it could have been better.
If I was to rate this out of 10, I'd give it a solid 7.
Fair.
Because there was a lot of good stuff on it, right?
Yep.
And I don't want to forget that, because you're right. You get those two back-to-back right at the end, and it kind of taints the experience of the rest of it, right? You're like, oh, all right, there was some great showings by both New Japan guys and AEW guys. We had a lot of fun matches. The Bullet Club match was great. I mean, Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy delivered completely, so I was very impressed with that match. We had a lot of really good quality stuff. We had a little bit of I didn't love the FTR injury angle, but I don't love Miro in the ring right now. But I love the Dermis Destroyer. So
and the like, some of the buy-in matches were actually better, right? So
I mean, the buy-in had some solid wrestling and stuff on it too. So there was a lot of things to really like in this. And then you had, unfortunately, the two main events at the end of the evening. Both of them and for different reasons. One was injury, and you're right. As Dave Meltzer said earlier in the week, this, if there's an award for the most snake bit pay-per-view of the year, it would be this one. It has been snake bit since the beginning, so that can be forgiven. The IWGP Championship match, I get it, no problem. Tanahashi versus Mox, no excuse. The
No
interference
excuse.
angle at the
Agreed.
end, no excuse.
Agreed.
I'm not going to go on and on and on
Yeah.
about it. You've all heard my piece on this. You all know what I think about it at this point. So there's room to grow.
Yes.
There is definitely room for these companies to grow. We're going to move to Blood and Guts next week. We'll be watching that, see what happens, see what some of the fallout from the show is, and we'll keep up with the news on our way there. But I guess now it is time for our thought that would summarize up the evening for us.
The phrase that would summarize the evening. You know what? I'm going to side with the Dark Order for now and say maybe we should find this forbidden door and shut it for a little bit because again, as you said, one of the most snake bitten pay-per-views ever. And one thing I just want to point out before I let you go for your thought is that you got to remember that when you're watching these pay-per-views, you're watching 4 to 5 hours worth or even more of content, which is great. You know what? It's awesome. We love wrestling, so don't mind. But when you get to that 5th hour and you see such great things where you're building, and then it just falls off a cliff and you're like, what the heck just happened there? It's disappointing. And that's what happened to us here. We all this time, all this energy spent, and at the end, we're just left a little bit disappointed. So just wanted to point that out.
My phrase of the evening that sums up the evening is, if you're caught in a spot and the world looks dark and things are going wrong for you and you're disappointed at the end, look the world in the face, kick it hard, turn it around, and give it the Dermis Destroyer, and everything will be okay.
Do you got to make sure that you add some flips in there?
Well, that's part of the Dermis Destroyer, right? You gotta turn around, flip backwards, roll forward, roll backwards again. Yeah,
and then rake the back.
And then rake the back.
Never seen such a ridiculous move. That's so awesome at the same time.
It is my new favorite wrestling move. And
Dermis Destroyer.
The world is hurting you. Just turn it around and give it the Dermis Destroyer.
I agree with you.
Yep, absolutely. So, yep, that is that. That was Forbidden Door. And so, as the great one always says, goodbye, everybody, and good night. Bang.
Bye, guys.